Hi y'all, Felly One Kenobi here with Pop Lore, and welcome to the Games of Power series where I talk about the 48 laws of powers and how the Game of Thrones characters use or misuse these laws to play the Game of Thrones. In this video, I'll be talking about how and why Viserys Targaryen died, using the 48 laws of power to explain this. So let's get started. Alrighty guys, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode where we talk about Viserys Targaryen and why he died. It took me a long time to really appreciate Viserys and his part in the story. His arc is definitely one of tragedy, losing all of his family and everything he knew except for his baby sister Daenerys, ultimately never overcoming his own fate. And what am I saying? I really can't stand him. He is so hard to like and an even harder character to empathize with because he is just so annoying and entitled. I don't know if he's the character that broke the most laws, but he sure did break quite a few. So today I'll be going over 3 laws that Viserys Targaryen violated, so let's go. Law number 13. When asking for help, appeal to their self-interest. If you need to turn to an ally for help, do not bother to remind him of your past assistance and good deeds. He will find a way to ignore you. Instead, uncover something in your request or in your alliance with him that will benefit him and emphasize it out of all proportion. He will respond enthusiastically when he sees something to be gained for himself. Viserys really was only interested in getting back the throne because he felt entitled to it. Yes, he was one of the last Targaryens, but he failed to really grasp the situation he was in. Viserys had no resources, and so all of his power came from the power others would give him. Like the army Khal Drogo was supposed to give him in exchange for selling Dany to the Khal. Since he had nothing, the only reason others came to his aid was out of possible gains they could receive if Viserys really did take back the throne. No one did anything out of pure kindness. There was always a price to be paid. Even Dany knew this. Without truly grasping the situation he was in, he didn't try to appeal to anything he could do for anyone else, and instead only focused on what others should do for him because he was the true king and he needed to get back his kingdom from the usurper. Which leads us to the next law, law number 27. Play on people's needs to believe to create a cult-like following. This law follows the previous law pretty nicely because if he had succeeded in following law number 13, it would have helped him also use law number 27, which is create a cult-like following. In a way, Viserys and Dany are polar opposites. Dany followed this law very well, while Viserys completely missed the mark. Her natural leadership, confidence, and ability to survive being burnt alive all contributed in her ability to gain followers, because really what she was to them was a symbol of something more than what they were and what they had. No one had Viserys' back in the end. He wasn't able to appeal to others in a bigger way than his own selfishness and what he felt that they owed him. So they gave him nothing because they owed him nothing. He never tried to compensate for his lack of resources, but rather expected the other party to pick the tab every single time. So there was really no loyalty in the end. All of his relationships were pretty much transactional. He felt everyone was his subject and they needed to do what he wanted them to do, but he never tried to cultivate a relationship with them. It was never a 50-50 or even a 60-40. It was 100% Viserys, other person 0%. So there was no love for him, even on a surface level. Going into the next law, for this last law that I'll be talking about, I would say it's a summation of the previous laws he violated, or rather was the result of violating those other laws, which is law number 5. So much depends on your reputation. Guard it with your life. And if your brother is the shadow of a snake, what does that make his servants? The Dothraki make mock of his weakness. He will never take us home. These 2 quotes above are from characters in the book that summated how everyone around Viserys felt about him. No one in the story really has a very high opinion of Viserys. He treated others rudely with arrogance, pride, and entitlement. He expected others to treat him with the respect of the king, but unfortunately for him, he didn't truly command that respect from others. It may have taken Dany some time to admit it, but she knew all along that he wasn't fit to be king. My brother will never take back the 7 kingdoms, Dany said. She had known that for a while, she realized. She had known it all her life. Only she had never let herself say the words, even in a whisper. But now, she said them for Jorah Mormont and the world to hear. He didn't care what others thought of him because he didn't really try to cultivate a relationship beyond him just being the king. He didn't appeal to anything for anyone, and this cost him dearly. Ultimately, the perception that he created with the Dothraki ended up getting him killed. They thought so little of him, and this is what Dany recounts in the books. He walked behind the Khalasar, so to the Dothraki he was no man at all, the lowest of the low, without honor or pride. As believed by the Dothraki, let everyone see him as he is. He didn't command respect, and once Dany stopped fearing him, she acted differently towards him. She acted stronger towards him. Viserys built a relationship of weakness and being less than the lowest of the lowest. He showed them that he wasn't worthy of the crown, and so treated him as such, which led him to his death ultimately. He was no more than a pest, and when they got tired of putting up with him, they killed him. So what do you think? If Viserys had a better upbringing, would he have turned into the same kind of character? Would he have been kinder and more humble like his older brother Rhaegar? I don't know the answers to these questions, so let's talk about them in the comments. Alrighty folks, this is all that I have for you today. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more. I appreciate the support.